Hello, hello.
Hi,
How are you?
hi.
Hello.
How's it
Hey,
going?
going good. Well, welcome. We are live, and live meaning just us right now. Welcome to Intimately Twisted. This is the podcast on love, intimacy, sex, and trauma. So, if everyone can just introduce themselves, and then we'll kind of come back with our stories. But my name is Jennifer. In
My
the
name is
middle, we
Shaurrelle.
have
My name is Shaurrelle.
hi, Sherelle. And I couldn't really hear you, kind of low. Can you repeat that?
I'm Chauncey.
Hi, Chauncey. All right, so we have Jennifer, Sherelle, and Chauncey. How do I mess up my own name, right? Jennifer. We have Jennifer, Jennifer. So again, this is the Intimately Twisted podcast. We're really excited. This is our first episode, kind of official and unofficial, but we are going to be going through and just doing an introduction of ourselves, and tell you the whole purpose of, what the reason behind the podcast, why we decided to do it, and really what our focus is. And so I guess I'm just going to call out Sherelle. Do you mind if you mind starting with your introduction and just share whatever you feel like you want the listeners to know?
Yeah, so again, my name is Shaurrelle. I am 35. I reside in Texas. Um, for me, essentially, this podcast is just more about, sharing my experiences in relationships, my past traumas, and, hearing about other people's experiences. And then maybe, hopefully, we can, grow and heal from those together.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you. Chauncey?
Hey, I'm Chauncey. I am 38. I'll be 39 soon enough. I have two kids, and I am actually um, close to being a divorcee. I turned in my paperwork today, so I'm starting a new journey.
Awesome, awesome. Well, my name is Jennifer Smith. I am 40 years old. It doesn't feel like it at all, but I am. And I'm going to turn 40 again this year, probably. I am divorced after a 16-year relationship slash marriage, and I have been single now for 2 years. Very interesting. I'd like to, there's some things I'd love to share because I think for me, the importance of the podcast is knowing that I'm not alone. And I think being kind of in this world, if you will, that I've been in this bubble for a long time, not being out and about, which is a good thing. I know for me, I just thought that a lot of the stuff that I went through was I was alone in it. And so I think it's really good. For those who don't know, we all are cousins, we're first cousins. And so this is really exciting to share this journey, not just with the public, but also with my cousins, because I think we have a lot of overlaps and parallel lines and things like that that's been happening. And we all did not grow up together. So it's very interesting to see the similarities that we go through, the differences as well, and the thought processes as we share in each individual journey, and then just embrace what we've gone through, what we're going through, and what we will be going through in the future. So my new slogan, I guess, for the year is embracing the experience. And we've been saying that a lot lately.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So let's just get started. This is just a free flowing conversation. Again, this is a podcast on love, intimacy, sex, and trauma. We're going to talk about it all, everything that either we've been through that we're comfortable with sharing, or we'll have other people kind of join in the future with as guests. So we'll have sex therapists and intuitive life coaches and just counselors. And I'm really, 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 really excited to have some men on the podcast because I swear, I'm sure one thing that we've all dealt with in the past is being like, I'm so confused. What the heck
Right.
is this man thinking? Or
Yeah.
what was I thinking when I was talking to this man? Anyway, so we've gone
Yeah.
through probably all of that in some capacity. So I'm really, really excited. So, hey, free open conversation. Just let's just chat about it.
Yeah. Well, Chauncey, you said you turned in your paperwork today. How did that feel?
I did. Mixed feelings, been a long time coming. I've had it for a while now. Um, but actually turning it in, um, I don't know, it's kind of bittersweet, because when you go into a marriage, you're not thinking that it's going to end um, at all. Even when times get hard, you're not really thinking divorce, and right off the bat, you try to work at it the best way that you can. For me, it just got to a point where, like, I had to choose, and I know we talked about it before. I had to choose me or that other person. I have two kids, so it was important for me to um, be healthy and make the best decisions, not just for myself, but for my kids. And so, um, turning in the paperwork kind of represented all of that, but then also was kind of sad, because, um, you know, like Jennifer, we were together for about 16 years. And, it's letting go of someone that's been a part of your life for that long, um, that you share kids with. So,
Yeah.
I don't know, it was bittersweet, but definitely necessary.
Let me ask. So Chauncey, you mentioned your two kids. So how for everyone? How old do we all have kids? So how old are your kids?
I have a 11-year-old daughter and a 9-year-old son.
Shaurrelle?
My daughter, she is 11.
And I have three kids. I can't believe it. My son just turned 20 yesterday. He's catching up with me. And I have another son that's 13, and my only daughter is 16. So definitely a variety across the three. Um, and we're all single parents. Whether we have help or not, I think we all, in some capacity, have some type of help. It's not maybe the same, but and that's something we can also, that'd be a great topic to discuss as well, like single parents and what we go through, and being a single parent and dating. Um, that's a whole nother a whole nother topic. But Chauncey, I wanted to ask you, because you mentioned just the feelings that you're going through, and I understand because I've just recently went through something very similar. Does it discourage you from your future opportunity, knowing that you've been in this relationship and with this person, because you're 38, so that's pretty much all you know, like it was all I knew, for the most part. How does that make you feel, kind of stepping out into the world again, kind of almost for the first time?
Whew, that's a great question. Honestly, I kind of experienced a few situations, um, nothing serious, and I'm like, man, I need to hurry up and get married, like, because I'm noticing that things have changed a lot, with dating and how people get to know each other, motives. It's also different now, it seems. So, I'm excited because I know that me and him just didn't fit, but I know that there is somebody else that will fit me. So I'm looking forward to that, to meeting that
Yeah.
person.
Anything that is there anything that you took out of it though that you're like, okay, I won't do this next time, or I'll look for this next time? Like what, like lessons learned, I guess.
Um, yes. Um, the things I've learned to not do is let things go without speaking up, because that was a problem that I had. I would kind of, I was super patient. I would see issues, or there were times where I wasn't okay with something. But I would say, but he has all these other great qualities. I'll let this pass, or that's not that serious because, he does this for the kids. He does this for me. He's this type of dad. He's this type of husband. But the things that were like really, really hurting me, I wasn't speaking up on. Um, I think maybe because I didn't want to rock the boat, or I wanted to be that understanding, patient wife. But it ended up hurting the both of us because when I finally did get to that point where I was like, "I'll come again," he it was he didn't understand it, and our the dynamic was kind of hard to adjust. Um, Once I did get to the point where I started speaking up, I think it may have been not too
Mm.
late, but the damage had already been done. Not that my speaking up was the cause. I think it would have helped him to understand me and to know my boundaries and to know what I was okay with and what I wasn't okay with. But at the same time, I understand that you find someone that you don't necessarily, for me, you don't necessarily have to make so many excuses for. And just because they're great in all these other areas doesn't mean that there's things that don't need to be fixed and that doesn't need to be addressed um, when it needs to be addressed. So I guess uh, next time around, I would speak up more, address issues that need to be addressed. Um, don't make excuses, for them. Um, I think that's probably maybe the biggest thing, for me is just speaking up, and it's okay to speak up.
Can I just say, I like how you answered the question with a focus on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, these are the things that I could do better, or, that type of thing. And I think a lot of times the perception is that we're just going to be like, he did this and he did that and he did that and he did this and and I like the fact that you were like, no, so like my role in it, like that's kind of that self recognition piece, because in some cases it is where it's not you. Like when you get to certain people's story, like, you can, there's some cases, but I just like, it's more of, I can tell that you're standing in your truth, which is really, really important, because I think that's missing in a lot of, because there's always two sides to the story. And a lot of times you hear that one side and you're like, it's probably more to it. But she
Right.
was able to really just say, no, like my role was, I could have spoken up more. And that makes a lot of sense. So I appreciate that. I will ask you too, you mentioned boundaries. So do you feel like when you first got together, when you were what, 22? Is that about right?
I was 19.
19? Ooh. Okay, so in 19, 22 was my age, I think. Um, so at 19, is it safe to say that you didn't know what your boundaries were and you didn't know all of your likes and dislikes?
Yeah, I would definitely say that. I knew the respect factor. Like I knew I want to be respected. You know, um, I want to be valued. I want to be loved. I knew those things. He was a little bit older than I was. He was 8 years older than me, and I feel like not that he took a. I don't think he took advantage of the age. I think um, being 19, I think he was what 27. I was about to turn 20. He was about to turn 28, and there was just so much, yeah, that I didn't really know about being with a man. Because
Mm-hmm.
I dated other 18-year-olds, other 19-year-olds.
Yep.
But not a man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he was a man, and I think I was pretty mature, even at that age, but I didn't know what it was, what I was going into when I said, okay, I'll be your wife.
Mhm.
And that, I don't know, that it meant I can be your wife, but I can still be me,
Yes.
at the
Mhm.
Yeah.
same. So yeah, I think being so young, I didn't quite get that balance. It took a while.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shaurrelle, I guess status and tell us about kind of your journey to this point.
Well, I'm single, and I'm a habitual single person. Like years, I meet guys, and I talk and date, but for the most part, I'm consistently single, like years at a time. For me, I don't know. It's weird. Like I meet great people. I'm not gonna, I can't say that I haven't. I've met some really great people. I just haven't found what I'm looking for specifically. So um, that's really it. I'm keeping my eyes open, but until then, I can't really see myself. For me, I enjoy solitude. I enjoy I don't want to say isolation. I don't mind it. I truly don't mind it, and so um, it's a little bit harder for me, especially as I get older, uh, to get out of that comfort zone. It's been hard, but um, yeah, I'm single, and I'm just if it happens, it happens. If it don't, I'm okay with that too.
Yeah. Cool.
Mhm.
Well, so how have you seen I guess the times change, right? Like if if you're single, ha- what do you think the biggest difference is? Just say now and like 10 years ago or even 5 years ago. Like, do you see a shift that's happening in the dating world?
Ooh, that's hard for me because while I'm single, I'm not necessarily in the dating world, right?
Gotcha.
I'm just, if I meet someone and I go out, fine. But in 5 years, I've been on 2 dates,
Oh,
right? So
wow.
I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm in the dating world. So I don't
Gotcha.
know, but I haven't, but yeah, I mean, from what I've seen, there is a bit of a shift, right? Guys are more, um, I don't know what it is. Like they don't want to date as much, it seems. They don't ask girls out like they used to. But
The whole
again,
chivalry type of thing is gone.
yeah,
I mean, you feel
Yeah.
like
yeah,
it's slowly
yeah. From
fading.
what yeah. But again, I'm not out there like that, so it's my perspective may be a little bit off.
Gotcha.
Yeah. How about you? You've been on the scene 2 years?
I've just been solo. I haven't been on the scene.
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, yeah.
so I was with my ex-husband for 16 years, and we have kids and amazing kids. I'm so super, super excited about just how fortunate I guess I am in that area. I don't know. Like for me, it was very hard because I knew it needed to be done, but I was scared. And I wasn't sure. It's like when you love someone, but you're like, I didn't realize it because we got together when I was 22. And so I think over the years, I won't take away the fact that I did, I loved him, but I think over the years, I knew that that probably wasn't where I was supposed to be, but I loved him. So I didn't want to, so it was one of those things like, oh, and it wasn't necessarily like an expected type of relationship because I don't really think it was. I was young. I wasn't looking for anything or anyone. I had come from like trauma a few times. And so now looking back on it, I think that it was more of security, like when it first happened. Now that I look back at it, um, I think for me, it was hard. It's hard now. And I'm not in the dating scene. I actually don't want to be. It's kind of weird. I think I'm at this weird place to where like I have people approaching me, but I'm like, nah, I'm good. I'm good. Nope, I'm good. It's like you were saying, like I hadn't run across anyone that I felt like I was interested in for the most part, Um, one, I'd say, but I see that smile. One, I'd say. Um,
About to say, tell it.
oh, we got to tell our truth? Okay.
Tell it.
I actually started smiling there. So, but that's a whole nother story. Um, but it was odd because I only knew one thing, like I knew one thing for and I'm really counting my adulthood starting at like 21. So you're talking from 21 years old all the way to 38, 37 and a half. I was just used to one thing. And so it didn't dawn on me. Like I just was in this bubble, you know? And I think I didn't realize I was in the bubble until later on in life. But I'd have these moments where I'm like, yeah, I don't think I should be here. And then I kind of flow back into the routine. And then I'd be like, no, I don't. So it's kind of, I was very wishy-washy, like, because I knew that I was probably not supposed to be in that relationship a long time ago. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I think your story is interesting, right? Because for you, and I'm not sure about Chauncey, but I remember like for you, I remember you telling me like it's different, right? Because it's not like he's just this horrible person. You know what I'm saying? It's not like
Right.
there's cheating or abuse, and it's like, but you're not supposed to be there, and it's like, like it's weird,
Mm-hmm.
right?
That's one of the
Yeah.
things that makes it so hard to
Yeah.
Yeah.
for you to say that it's over because you go through that. You go back and forth in your head.
Almost
Yeah.
trying to validate it. Like, but I should stay. And now I think that's what it was. Like, but he's not bad. He's not this. He's not that. And then you see other situations around you, like people that you may know, and they're going through some drama, and you're like, oh, okay, I don't have to deal with that. So maybe I should just
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
deal with what I'm going through because it's really not. You start valid. It's not that bad.
Right.
And that's really what I think was that was the hardest part is
Yeah.
because coming from trauma, you then start comparing the trauma, like, okay, well, there's trauma and then there's no trauma. So I must stay in the no trauma zone. And you think that there's not another option. Like but there's really an option C that says you don't have to be in either at this point. You don't have to be in that relationship just because there's not trauma, if that makes sense. And I think when I went through counseling, I went through counseling for some years off and on with the same counselor. And she brought up something really important. She said, you're probably both holding each other back.
Wow.
And it wasn't intentional. But in a sense, because in the marriage, I kind of handled everything. So it was me doing this, me doing that. And I was getting overwhelmed. And then I was, like how Chauncey was saying, I wasn't speaking up. That's one thing I learned about myself, that I had to speak up because I lost myself. I didn't know myself. I'm not even going to say lost. I don't think I ever really knew the person that I was supposed to become early on. So the person that I was before, it's just almost like it was like a hard stop. And then I just became someone else, and not in a negative way. I was very mature. um, just a little quick backstory. I had a car collision, head-on car collision with a drunk driver when I was 19. And I think that was one of the biggest things for me is because by the time that I met my ex, um, that's right around the time that I just went through a domestic violence situation. Um, I had went through a situation. I don't know if you, I guess you could kind of call it domestic violence, um, with a family member, and I, a close family member. I'm not even going to say names or anything like that, but and so it was very awkward because I was 19 years old in this traumatic state in a sense, like have been through two domestic violence type of situations, one family, one was an ex, and then I had an accident that then altered my memory, um, put me in physical pain. I was depressed. I didn't know it, but I was depressed. And so over the years, as I start seeing the symptoms of what I was going through, I didn't realize it. It actually took my ex to tell me, like, I just told you that, and you're forgetting. Like, I didn't even realize I was forgetting stuff. And by the time it really came to surface, it was like, boom, it hit me hard. And it was years after, at least 3 or 4 years after the accident, before everything really shifted. And I started noticing. So in the course of that relationship, I lost myself. I became very depressed. Um, at the same time, I was still ambitious, still got my degree, still had kids. But it was just weird because I have an issue. You know how you have an issue with someone and then you talk it out and everything is cool and y'all can agree to disagree and you keep moving forward. With my situation, we'd have a disagreement, and this is my perception, right? We'd have this disagreement and then I'd forget that there was a problem before it was solved. And then I'd go into this everything is good phase. And he wasn't going to stop me because everything was back to normal. It was cool. By the time I realized that I had a problem, an unresolved issue, it would be a year later. And so when we went to counseling, all of this stuff came up. So that's how I really realized and looked back on it. So in his mind, he was like, I don't know what's going on. You just all of a sudden switch up on me. And it wasn't that I was all of a sudden switching up. I was remembering that we never resolved an issue and I still had a problem with it, and that once I forgot, we just kept going forward. So it was kind of weird.
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. And how are you kind of how have you been adjusting, like after are you still you're still in counseling and stuff like that, right? Are you guys, or both of you, do you guys do therapy and stuff like that?
I'm not anymore. My great counselor, she's amazing. I have her number. So I just, like if I just need to call, I can call.
Yeah.
And I have since the split. Like we've had conversations in person and since the split. So I had to make sure that I kept that going because it was still an adjustment, even though it was me that wanted it.
Yeah.
Um, but no, I don't do counseling anymore. Um, like Chauncey said in the beginning, when we first had to sign the papers, it was really traumatic twice because we went to sign the papers. We had to meet up to get everything notarized. And I was just so emotional. Again, I'm the one who wanted it. I'm the one who initiated it all. And I didn't have any regrets. But when the day came for us to like meet up and sign, and we did it all like just go to FedEx or whatever, it wasn't like anything formal. It was like a rush of emotions because I was like, oh my God, I'm really doing this, you know? And it was so emotional. Like I cried. And I'm not really a sensitive person. So it takes a lot. So either I'm going to be pissed and I'm all the way up here, I don't even know I'm all the way up here, or I'm going to be super sad and I'm all the way down here. Like I don't, as far as emotions go, I pretty much stayed pretty level. But a lot of that is because of my fibromyalgia, right? So I have to kind of stay emotionally at a good emotional space, and not let any stress get to me. Well, that day was like very, very emotional and overwhelming. But a few weeks after that, I got a message that the judge denied it because of something that the lawyer didn't put in or put in wrong into the papers. So we had to go redo it. And I was like, oh my God. And I had just got to a place where I was breathing. Like, even though it was a couple weeks later, like I was finally like, whew, okay, I did it. And then we had to, like, a couple months after that, we had to go and do it all over again. But the second time around, I was able to handle it a little bit better, and I didn't cry. And we actually went to go get something to eat afterwards. He was like, you want to go get something to eat? I was like, yeah, sure. So it was a little bit different, and it was still emotional. But by that time, I had already been okay with it. But by that time, I was like, okay, this is where we are.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. Pretty interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
So, one thing, what are some of the things, Chauncy, you kind of touched on like what you would do differently. What are some of the things you think you look for now as a result of what you've been through?
Someone who's patient with me, like I'm patient with them. Um, Patience is definitely important. Um, a little disclaimer, being, transparent. Although I just turned my paperwork in today, I've been separated for almost 2.5 years now. So, I have met some men, and one thing that I noticed is the patience factor isn't there, with a lot of the men. It's almost like, from what I've experienced, it's like they want what they want the way that they want it. And if it takes them any type of time to understand you, they they're like, okay, next, on to the next one. So I really want someone who has the patience, someone who's a great communicator. Now, my ex, he was a great communicator. He really was, and I love that about him. Even now, we communicate very well. So I would definitely want a communicator, someone who communicates well, emotional stability.
Mm.
I need that.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're not emotionally stable, um, it's almost I don't know, it's almost oppressive, almost, because a lot of times when they're not emotionally stable, I've noticed they like to play mind games, to get what they want, or to cover up whatever um, feelings that they really should be feeling or expressing. They'd rather just play, not they, some guys, they'd rather
Mhm.
just play mind games with you or to manipulate you. So definitely someone who's um, emotionally stable. Oh, what else? My list used to be used to be real long. It's not as
I want to
long
get my list. I want to get my list because I think hold on. I gotta give my list, y'all. I'm serious because go ahead, keep going. But I'm gonna give my list because I think this is great. That whatever our intentions are, like we just set our intentions for what we want. As we move into, it's almost the end of the year, so as we move into this new year. But I got a list, so I don't know about y'all, but I'm just gonna grab it real quick.
Yeah, I have my list, but I've marked off some things. Some things just aren't as important anymore.
Yeah.
I need to be spiritually fed. That was not on my list. I had so many other things, but that wasn't.
Yeah.
So I need to be spiritually fed, and someone who has a relationship, with God. Like, that is important, because when we're having problems, or if I'm acting crazy, he needs to be able to go to God and be like,
He
Father,
needs to be able to handle Chauncey.
please give me the patience, you know. Um, But I've met a lot of guys who had great qualities. Like seriously, it's like, oh, good. Like I'm checking them all off. He's great. And then it may just be that one or two deal breakers. That may not be somebody else's deal breaker, but they're
Mhm.
mine now.
Yeah.
Now that I know. And I think sometimes you may not even know until you meet that person. Like you
Yeah.
meet them and you're like, ah, okay, I really like that. I really want that. Or no, I can't deal with that. You know, sometimes it's hard. I had actually just met a guy, just met a guy, and he seemed so great, so great. Um, but then slowly, I started to see some, those red flags, and it took me a minute to be able to say, okay, he has all these qualities that I have been looking for, but this one thing right here, I see this being a problem. I see this
Mhm.
being unhealthy. So being able to let go of the possibility of, oh, this could really be great, or but I see this major red flag, so I'm gonna go ahead and sacrifice the, oh, there's a possibility that this could be great. I've done that before, where I've met guys who have been really great guys, but they've shown me something, and I held on to all those great things, just like with my ex. Held on to all those great things. They would show me one or two things, and I'll say, oh, maybe I'm being too sensitive, or maybe I'm tripping, because sometimes they'll tell you, you're tripping. But in actuality, those are some things that you really need to look out for, and because they get worse sometimes, and it's like it's
Yeah.
been 30 days. If you're already showing me this,
Mhm.
it's so that's
Mhm.
my situation. So I'm
Well,
very,
at least they
very,
show you in the beginning. You want it in the beginning
yes.
instead of down the road.
You know what? I thanked him today. I thanked him. I said, thank you so much for showing me this thing. I wasn't even mad at him. I was like, thank you. Thank you.
Are you mad at God for showing you?
No, I prayed for him to show it to
Oh, you
me.
prayed for him. I thought you said I was.
No, I said
You
I
prayed
wasn't.
for you to show.
Yeah, and I wasn't mad at the guy when he showed me who he
Gotcha.
was. I wasn't even mad
That's
that he
good.
showed me so soon. That's a blessing.
No, it's good that you can look at it that way because a lot of times people ask to see something like God, please reveal blah 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 blah, and then He does, and then you're like, oh well, ain't that bad, like
Yeah. Pretend
Right.
like you don't. Yeah. Yeah.
right, right.
Pretend like you don't see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So cool. So what? I forgot the question. I'm like, wait, oh,
Did you go get your list?
I did get my list.
Let
Okay.
me hear. Let me hear some of the things on yours.
That's how long it is. You see, I have to look down. No, no, seriously, I have a poster board list
Ooh.
Whoa.
because, yeah, no, seriously. So let me tell you the reason for this. Okay,
Okay.
I have a poster board list. I'm trying to get my angles right. If you notice, this says him, but
Okay.
I'm a realist, right? And so this says us, and then
Okay.
when you get all the way over, it says, "This is my prayer." I'm all about manifestation now. Like, forget this.
I love it.
Let me read down my list.
Oh
All right, so my list seriously is loves God and no loves God first and foremost, but in no other specific order. Um, Driven, successful, but not neglective or not neglectful of the relationship. Mature, attentive, and responsive. Um, Understands the importance of quality time. Not abusive, not a heavy drinker, and no addictions. Faithful, confident but not cocky, funny, a best friend, attracted to me and me being attracted to them, right? So many times, you be attracted to somebody and they don't be attracted back. So that's why I put that in there. Like, I really want it to be mutual.
yeah.
Like, why are the guys that like me I don't like, so I put that on there.
Yep.
um Somewhat romantic because I'm trying to be realistic, right? I know that a lot of guys aren't, but for me, I am a hopeless romantic, and it's nothing more frustrating than to be romantic and never get anything similar reciprocated, even though I know you're supposed to just do it out of the kindness of your heart and that's who you are, but it's, as a woman, like, I feel like it's still important for me to receive, as well. So, has a stable career. I actually put an amount, but I feel like some may or may not agree. I put an amount because for where I am in my life and my career, I feel like it's important that the person that I'm with, um, is one, able to care for themselves and in its entirety, like their selves, and then also be a great contributor to the household, like I can be. So pretty much everything that's on my list, so it says him, but it's also me, because I try not to ask for anything that I can't give.
Right.
And there may be a couple things that I just can't for whatever reason, like, but understanding, takes care of his body and his health, patient, gives good massages, gets along with the kids, is a positive role model, responsible and neat, like clean living environment, good leader, no baby mama drama, no, y'all forgive me on this one, no little kids. I mean toddlers, y'all, because here's the thing, my kids are already teenagers, so this is just my list. Not saying that it's bad, someone else may or may not like it, but this is just me. A good dad if they're a father, emotionally stable, just like Chauncey said, fun in bed, intimate, and I literally put in parentheses just the right amount of kisses. I have no idea why. I don't know why I put that on there. Listen, they said tell them what you want. That's what I want.
Yes.
That's it. That's
Tell them what you
it.
want. I mean, it's gonna be up to God to say, I'm good because I have 5'10" or taller slash fit, but that's a preference. I got that on the side. Like that's a preference. Um, good sex and attentive in bed. Overall, a great personality, intelligent, not overly sensitive. I would like us to have similar or common interests, and then they want a commitment and to build, because that's always seems to be a missing piece. And then our personality, our attitude, like everything kind of completely complements each other. So, and I think the question then becomes, what if you find someone that checks damn near every box in your mind and you get down to the bottom and they don't want a commitment?
Been there, done that, child. Been there, done that.
I mean, it's just a question. Like, I'm sure women deal with it, right? Like, what happens when you get, because most of the time you get the person that wants a commitment, but they have so many like deal breakers and issues and stuff you don't want. They like you don't really like them, that type of thing. But what happens, and this is for all of us, like, what happens if we run across that person and you look back on your list and you be like, check, 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 check. And then you get to the very end and you're like, ooh, X.
Mm.
And that X happens to be that they don't want a commitment.
They don't want, well, let's just say they're not going, their goal may not be where your goal is when it comes to relationships. So let's just assume it's, if my relationship is marriage, my relationship, if my goal is building into a relationship to then get married, what happens if you meet someone that checks everything that you want, and then but they don't want marriage? Maybe down the road they want a commitment and they want a relationship, but maybe their end goal is not marriage per se. Like, what would you guys do if that was the case?
I would just assume that person's not for me. I don't think that there's one person in the world who's going to meet your criteria,
Mm-hmm.
right? You may
There's
have to
always gonna
look
be something.
further, right? You may have to look further. You may have to look a little longer, right? But if you know that marriage is a non negotiable for you, and that person saying, regardless if he's, 5'10", 180, 6 figures, and you figure that's your dream person, but that person doesn't want that marriage, that's not his end goal, he's not going to be the only person that on that checklist, right? Keep looking.
Mm-hmm.
That's in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You
No,
know.
you're absolutely right. Um, I had met a guy that, he checked everything, but um, he had just came out of a divorce himself, and so he wasn't looking to get married or to jump into anything, But he checked all the boxes, and for him, I checked all. However, um, he was not in a healthy mindset at the time after his divorce, and so unfortunately, we had to put some space in between each other. I didn't think that I could find somebody that I connected with the way that I connected with him. And then I met somebody else, and it seemed like, oh, this guy, it seems like I can,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't think that that was possible. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm actually connecting with somebody else. He even communicated better. I was
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
wow, this is awesome. But then that red flag, kind of came up. That non-negotiable came up. So kind of like what you were saying, Cheryl. Sometimes you're not going to find everything all in one person, or it just may take time. And there's definitely more than one person.
Mm-hmm.
I think that you can connect with, and even when you feel like I've connected with this particular person so well, I can't imagine connecting with another person on this level. um, there is somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
That there is. And also, if sometimes the timing is off.
Yes.
Sometimes you could meet that person that checks all those boxes, and y'all could very well work, but the timing is off.
Timing.
Maybe
Yep.
they're not there yet, mentally or emotionally, and maybe somewhere down the road,
Yep.
you know, they'll be ready, and maybe you'll still have the space for them, maybe,
Or maybe
Right.
not.
or
Right.
maybe not,
Right.
So you never really know. You never really know until they um, propose, I guess, and
You
walking
don't
down
know until you
the aisle.
know.
You're walking down the aisle, so it's like trial and error.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
Well, good stuff. So, um, I guess as we kind of come to a wrap up of our very first episode and our intro episode was so exciting. Um, any comments, questions, just thoughts? Yes.
I have one. This question is for Shaurrelle. So if you had a list, what would be on your list?
I got a list. Um, actually, patience is probably number one on my list too. Um, I am. I can be like really indecisive sometimes. Really. Um, yeah. I'm like mild mannered, but sometimes I have my days, right? So I think for me, somebody who is just patient and understanding is probably going to be definitely top of that list. And then probably second is somebody who a good communicator and who I can just talk to, right? I enjoy couch, those conversations on the couch, right? Just talking and chilling, right? And so somebody that I can um, talk to about anything is probably second on my list. But yeah, that's probably the two biggest things that I'm looking for. Yeah.
Cool.
Hmm.
Shaurrelle, any final questions or comments?
This is fun. I'm looking forward to more and us getting better and uh, yeah, I'm excited about it.
Cool. So next week, or when the next episode, I think we, because we're talking about, like, I call it list. So I put it in the order of LIST, right? Love, intimacy, sex, and trauma. I think there's a common or similar denominator, I guess, between all three of us, and that's like anxiety. I think we all have anxiety, correct?
Mhm.
Um, and then depression. I don't know if both of you have gone through it at some point in time. Depression, um, PTSD. Like I would love to dive into that kind of the trauma, but not too heavy. But I would love to dive into the trauma of, you know, anxiety and depression and how that impacts us as women and as single moms, um, as possibly being in the dating world, or not necessarily dating world, but single. Um, and because I think even like I'm not actively dating, and it gives me anxiety,
Mm.
like it gives me anxiety, the thought of like, because I don't want to get to know anyone new. I don't want to, have to sit there and explain my life story again. Like, I don't want to go through all that. And the fact that I have anxiety just makes it probably feel like it's 5 times worse.
Yeah.
So I don't know if y'all are okay with that topic, but I would really like, I mean, we can talk about a lot of different things, but I would really enjoy the conversation, just talking about our anxieties and what we've gone through, what we've overcame, to be honest with you,
Yeah.
um, on our journeys, because that says a lot. I think we as women don't always give ourselves enough credit for what we deal with, and what we overcome.
Absolutely.
So awesome. Well, thank you again. This is Shaurrelle, Chauncey, and Jennifer. We are the three amigas. Or what's cousin in Spanish? I was like, wait, Tia is aunt. I'm gonna figure it out next time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But this is Intimately Twisted, the podcast on love, intimacy, sex, and trauma. We're so excited. Again, this is our first episode, the first of many. And we really wanted to just come and talk to you guys today about who we are and kind of set the stage for kind of, us and our journeys. And we're going to talk about everything. Like, we all have gone through different things. We've all come across different things. So I'm really looking forward to us just sharing our stories, interviewing new guests, so we're getting our lineups. We already have two. So I'm really, really excited about the future episodes. And yeah, so if y'all don't have anything else, all good.
All right. Good night.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I am going to just end the broadcast.